The blackness of space was absolute, yet alive in a way that only those who had stared into it for years could understand. Stars winked in distant constellations, indifferent to the battles and betrayals that played out across the void. The human ship Dauntless drifted silently, a solitary silver streak among the infinite night. Its hull bore the scars of skirmishes that should have ended civilizations, yet here it floated, a testament to stubbornness, ingenuity, and that quintessentially human defiance. Captain Elena Said stood on the bridge, hands gripping the cold railing as her gaze swept over the holographic readouts. Every sensor, every blip on the radar spoke of danger. The last colony on Icarus 9 had reported strange readings before disappearing entirely, a radio silence that had lasted 3 weeks. Now, with the Dauntless only a day from the last known coordinates, the tension on board had thickened like the fog of a storm-racked planet. "You're sure about this?" First Officer Malik asked, his voice low, cautious. He wasn't the type to question Elena lightly, but the unease radiating from him matched her own. Elena didn't turn to look. "We're the only ones who can check, and if the reports are true, whatever's out there, it won't wait for someone else." Malik's jaw tightened. Humans had learned to fight many things: aliens, natural disasters, even the betrayals of their own species. But the unknown was a different predator entirely. One that didn't leave a body, didn't leave a trail. It simply took and left silence. The crew of the Dauntless moved with practiced precision, though their movements were slightly slower than usual, weighed down by apprehension. Engineers hunched over control panels, tweaking power outputs to maintain optimal shield integrity. Sensors were recalibrated, navigation routes double-checked, and communications arrays scanned for any signal, faint or otherwise. Then the readings appeared, a tiny anomaly in the electromagnetic spectrum. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Elena's brow furrowed. "Pulse is repeating at regular intervals," the sensor officer reported, voice tight. "Energy signatures are unfamiliar. Not any known propulsion or life form." Elena leaned forward. "Bring it closer," slowly. The Dauntless responded to her command, engines humming softly as it altered course toward the source. Each meter forward stretched seconds into eternity. The crew waited, senses sharpened, hearts drumming against ribs that felt too small for the weight of anticipation. Then it emerged. The object was enormous, far larger than any vessel humanity had ever built. It floated like a corpse in the void, blacker than the surrounding space, yet edged with colors that no human eye had names for. Its shape was vaguely organic, as if a living creature had been turned inside out and coated in metal. Tentacle-like appendages read slowly around it, tipped with what looked like eyes. Except they didn't reflect light, they absorbed it, leaving the darkness around them even darker. Malik whispered, "It's beautiful." Elena's eyes didn't leave the display. "It's a predator, and we just swam into its territory." The first probe they sent vanished without a trace. No signal, no debris, no warning. Only the pulse continued, faint, consistent, like the heartbeat of some colossal alien predator. "Shields at max," Elena commanded. "Weapons ready. Keep every sensor online. Do not approach closer until we know what it wants." The alien moved then, deliberately, almost lazily, yet every motion screamed of intent. The appendages extended, sweeping in patterns that defied the crew's calculations. Time seemed to stretch. Each second was drawn out, thick and suffocating. Then, without warning, a wave of energy slammed into the Dauntless. The lights flickered. Alarms screamed. The ship shuddered as systems overloaded. Crew members were thrown off balance. Some scrambled to secure themselves while others held onto consoles, knuckles white. "Status report," Elena barked. "Shields absorbed the brunt," the engineer yelled. "But power is dropping. Life support is fluctuating." Malik moved beside Elena, eyes scanning the readouts. "It's testing us, probing. It's intelligent." Elena nodded grimly. "And patient. That's worse than being fast." For hours, the Dauntless drifted in orbit around the alien presence, neither side making a decisive move. Humans observed, analyzed, adapted. The alien probed again, retracting its appendages when met with resistance. Each pulse, each wave of energy seemed designed to measure fear, resilience, and, Elena realized, courage. And then the communications array caught it. A signal. Not random, not interference. It carried structure, patterns of something unmistakably intentional. It wasn't in a language humans knew, but the mathematics underlying it was perfect. Elena stared at the display, breath shallow. "It's speaking. To us." Malik shook his head. "Or testing us. The two might be the same." They spent hours responding. Signals were sent, calculations performed, and patterns mirrored. Slowly, a tentative understanding emerged. The alien wasn't just observing. They were trying to communicate, to gauge if the humans aboard the Dauntless could reason, could adapt, could survive. Elena felt a shiver run down her spine. Humans had fought wars against themselves, against machines, against the environment, and survived. But the universe was vast, and survival against this intelligence would demand more than tactics. It would demand ingenuity, courage, and the kind of determination that had allowed a fragile species to rise from dirt to the stars. As night fell across the observation deck, stars glittering like scattered diamonds, the alien pulsed again, slower this time, deliberate. Elena studied it closely, feeling the weight of humanity's place in the galaxy pressing against her mind. "They're giving us a choice," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "Fight or be measured and maybe fail." The crew exchanged glances, knowing without words that they were no longer merely travelers or soldiers. They were representatives of humanity itself. Every decision, every gesture, every misstep would be recorded in the memory of an entity whose comprehension was beyond imagination. Hours turned into a day. The Dauntless endured wave after wave of probing energy, the ship's structure creaking and groaning, systems straining under the pressure, and yet the humans adapted. Shields were rerouted, weapons recalibrated, communications refined. Every time the alien tested them, they responded with precision, creativity, and, most importantly, courage. Then, without warning, the alien withdrew slightly, retreating into the void. The pulsing slowed. The appendages curled inward, almost as if it were considering. Elena's voice broke the silence. "They're waiting for us to make the next move." Malik frowned. "Move? Towards what? They could destroy us in an instant." "They're not moving away," Elena said quietly, eyes locked on the slowly retreating form. "They're giving us an opening. And humans take openings. We adapt, we strike, and we survive." For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the tension on the bridge eased ever so slightly. The crew of the Dauntless had faced the abyss and not blinked. They were terrified, yes, but fear had a peculiar way of sharpening focus, of forcing humans to find solutions where none seemed possible. The alien observed, and perhaps it understood. Perhaps it had never encountered a species that could endure, think, and act with such chaotic brilliance. Humans were unpredictable, and in the quiet of the cosmos, unpredictability was a weapon no algorithm could calculate, no probe could measure. Elena exhaled slowly, her mind racing with possibilities. They had survived the first encounter, but she knew instinctively that this was only the beginning. Whatever the alien's motives, it would not remain passive forever. Humanity had been measured, and now it had been noted. The game had only just begun. And somewhere in the void, that dark, living ship pulsed with intent, a silent predator aware for the first time that its quarry could fight back, and perhaps in some way could even inspire caution. The stars blinked on, the Dauntless shivered, engines humming, and humanity, fragile and tenacious, stared into the abyss, ready to write the first lines of a chapter the universe had never seen before. The Dauntless drifted in uneasy silence, the ship's hull groaning as if echoing the tension inside. Sensors flickered with irregular readings, tiny spikes of energy that seemed to crawl across the alien vessel's surface. Each blip made the crew flinch, each ripple in the void a whisper of unseen menace. Elena paced the bridge, mind a storm of calculations and contingencies, while Malik hovered near the tactical console, hands poised, muscles coiled. "We need to understand its behavior," Elena said, voice steady despite the tremor of anticipation she felt beneath it. "If we act informed. If we hesitate, we die." Malik's jaw tightened. "And if we act, we might still die. What's the plan?" Elena's eyes scanned the shifting patterns of the alien energy pulses. "Observe, record, respond, that's all we can do right now. But we adapt faster than anything it's seen. That's our advantage." The crew moved with an efficiency born of years in space, hands dancing over consoles, eyes tracking every fluctuation. The alien vessel seemed almost aware of their activity, its appendages twitching in irregular patterns. For a moment it felt as if it were watching the humans, measuring their reactions, weighing their courage and ingenuity like a jeweler weighs precious stones. Then, the alien struck, not with weapons or destructive energy, but with a force that was more subtle, more psychological. The lights of the Dauntless dimmed, flickered, and warped. Systems began to feed back nonsensical data. Navigation controls jumped erratically. The ship's internal gravity field fluctuated, sending crew members stumbling, clutching at rails and consoles. Panic rippled through the corridors like a contagion, but on the bridge, the trained personnel held steady. Elena took a deep breath. "It's testing our response under pressure. It wants to see how chaos affects us. Don't give it satisfaction." Malik glanced at her, admiration mingling with fear. "We've survived everything else, but this feels different. Like staring at a predator that knows everything about you before you even think." "Exactly," Elena said, fingers flying over the control panel. And we're going to prove it wrong. The alien pulsed again, slower this time, almost languidly, as if waiting for the humans to act. Elena seized the moment. All power to shields, reroute non-essential systems to propulsion. We're going to reposition. The Dauntless lurched as engines roared to life, and the alien followed, silent and deliberate, tentacles sweeping through the void in patterns that defied conventional physics. It wasn't merely moving. It was calculating, anticipating, adapting to their every maneuver. The bridge was tense, a theater of silent coordination. Every crew member knew instinctively what was at stake. This wasn't a simple encounter. It was a test of humanity itself, a trial where every decision carried immeasurable weight. Hours stretched into a day as the cat-and-mouse game unfolded. The alien adjusted its position, testing, probing, seemingly trying to understand not just the capabilities of the humans but their will, their spirit, and humans, with characteristic stubbornness, refused to be cowed. In the ship's lab, Dr. Anika Chowdhury examined the data streaming from the alien pulses. Patterns emerged, mathematical sequences, almost musical in their repetition and variation. They weren't random. They were attempting communication, not destruction. "It's sophisticated," she murmured. "It's speaking in numbers, but the logic behind it. It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. Not just language, a test of cognition." Elena listened, leaning over the lab's glass partition. "Then we answer in kind. Humanity adapts to challenges it doesn't understand. That's what we do." The next attempt at communication came through the main sensors. A sequence of energy pulses interlaced with bursts of low-frequency vibrations formed a rhythm that resonated in the hull itself. The crew felt it as much as they saw it, a pulsing, insistent heartbeat demanding attention. Malik frowned. "It's impatient, like it's trying to provoke a reaction," and Elena nodded. "Exactly. And we're going to give it a response. Not fear, not aggression, understanding." Hours of calculations and simulations followed. Each crew member contributed their combined knowledge, forming a tapestry of ingenuity that the alien had never witnessed. Humans weren't predictable. They weren't machine-like. They questioned, experimented, failed, adapted, and then succeeded. And each success, each clever maneuver drew a subtle shift from the alien vessel. Then the first breach attempt, not directly against the hull, but into the ship's communications. The alien sent waves of energy, subtle and precise, attempting to manipulate their sensors and confuse their readings. Crew members felt a vertigo of perception, as if reality itself was bending. Elena steadied herself against the console. "It's testing our awareness, our resilience. We don't give in, we observe, we record, we learn. That's how humans survive." Malik gritted his teeth. And Elena's gaze hardened. "Then we escalate smarter, faster, better." A days passed. Sleep was a luxury. Hunger was ignored. Fear was suppressed beneath layers of training, instinct, and raw determination. The Dauntless had become a crucible, a test chamber for the human mind and spirit. And through it all, the alien watched, adapting, assessing, acknowledging, though whether it respected them or merely catalogued them as curious anomalies was unclear. Then a breakthrough. Dr. Chowdhury realized that by modulating the energy pulses in precise sequences, they could create a pattern that the alien recognized, not as aggression but as comprehension. A mirrored sequence, perfectly aligned with its own rhythm, yet distinctly human in variation. Elena stared at the display. We're responding, not with weapons, not with shields, with thought, with creativity. This is our language. Malik shook his head in awe. "And if it rejects it, we adapt again," Elena said simply. "We survive." The alien pulsed slower now, tentacles curling in emotion, almost like contemplation. For the first time it seemed to pause, not merely observing but considering. And in that pause, humanity found its first victory. Acknowledgement. It was subtle, almost imperceptible. But to Elena and her crew it was a revelation. The alien hadn't attacked, it hadn't destroyed. It had measured, and it had understood that humans were different. A day later, the alien shifted its appendages, a movement that radiated through space like a ripple across a pond. A window of opportunity appeared. The humans could now probe further, push boundaries, and begin to assert themselves. But the sense of suspense remained, a reminder that the predator had not yet surrendered its dominance. Elena paced the bridge, heart steady despite the exhilaration. "We've been recognized, not as threats, not as prey, as thinkers, as problem solvers. That's humanity's edge." Malik exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders for the first time in days. "It's incredible. I never thought we'd communicate like this." Elena's gaze didn't leave the alien silhouette. "We haven't communicated yet. We've just been acknowledged. This is the beginning, and beginnings are dangerous, Malik. But endings are where humanity thrives. In the quiet that followed, the crew of the Dauntless realized that survival wasn't just about firepower or numbers. It was about ingenuity, courage, and the ability to face the incomprehensible without flinching. They were humans, fragile yet relentless, small yet formidable. And somewhere in the dark, vast universe, a new chapter was being written, one where humanity would not merely endure but inspire even the most alien of observers to recognize that defiance, creativity, and spirit could never be calculated, contained, or conquered. The Dauntless moved cautiously, still following the alien vessel as it drifted in eerie silence. The pulse of its energy was slower now, almost contemplative, but the sense of danger had not diminished. Every creak of the hull, every flicker of the lights reminded the crew that they were small, fragile, and incredibly visible in a universe that did not forgive mistakes. Elena stood at the bridge, staring at the alien as it floated, immense and unknowable. "It's testing patience now," she said. "Not our reflexes, not our firepower. Our focus." Malik rubbed his temples. "We've been awake for over 70 hours. Some of these people are running on sheer instinct at this point. How long can we keep this up?" "Long enough," Elena said. "Humans endure beyond what even they imagine. That's why we're still here." Suddenly, the alien shifted its position rapidly, faster than anything they could have anticipated. Sensors screamed as readings spiked, the energy pulses becoming chaotic, unpredictable. A shockwave of raw power slammed into the Dauntless, rattling consoles and sending crew members tumbling. "Report," Elena barked. "Shields holding, but at 50%. Malik shouted, voice tight with tension. "Hull integrity fluctuating? Systems offline in Sector 3. The lights flickered violently, plunging parts of the bridge into darkness. Crew members clutched at whatever was solid, gripping consoles and railings as the ship groaned. The alien wasn't attacking to kill. Not yet. But it was demonstrating control, showing that it could dominate the environment in ways humans had never experienced. Elena's eyes narrowed. "It wants to see how we respond under maximum stress, maintain control, reroute all power to critical systems. We adapt or we die." Dr. Chowdhury's voice rang through the intercom. "Captain, I've been analyzing the energy pulses. They're almost musical. But the dissonance in the last sequence, something is being hidden within it. Patterns within patterns. A trap?" Elena's pulse quickened. "Or a challenge. Humans uncover the hidden. We always find the thread and follow it." The crew sprang into action. Engineers redirected power through redundant circuits. Navigators recalculated trajectories to compensate for the strange gravitational distortions caused by the alien's presence. Every move was precise, every decision executed under pressure that would have crushed lesser species. The alien paused then, almost lazily, as if considering the human's response. Its appendages twitched, forming patterns in space that no human eye could comprehend, yet sensors translated them into strange, almost musical sequences. Darker. Chowdhury leaned over her console, furiously decoding. "It's waiting for something," she whispered. "It wants us to respond, not with shields or weapons, but with thought." Elena clenched her jaw. "Then we respond. Show it what humanity is capable of." Hours passed intense calculation. The crew of the Dauntless mirrored the alien's pulses with subtle variations, slight but distinct enough to signal comprehension. They weren't mimicking, they were innovating. Humans took a language they didn't understand and made it theirs, bending it, twisting it, transforming it into something alive with intent. The alien's reaction was immediate. Its appendages contracted, then expanded, rippling through space with patterns that were almost like approval, or perhaps curiosity. For the first time, the humans sensed acknowledgement. They were no longer mere prey, but participants in a dialogue far beyond words. Then came the warning. A concentrated beam of energy erupted from the alien, striking the Dauntless's lower hull. The bridge shook violently, alarms blaring. Systems overloaded. Sparks flew from panels and crew members screamed as gravity faltered. "Damage report," Elena shouted. "Severe," Malik said, voice strained. "Hull breached in Sector 4? Life support failing in adjacent areas." Elena's mind raced. Retreat was not an option. They were too close, and the alien's behavior suggested that fleeing would only provoke it further. Yet standing still would be suicidal. They had to act, and act decisively. "Engineering, initiate emergency hull stabilization," Elena commanded. "Tactical, ready defensive countermeasures, but hold fire unless directly attacked." Science team continued decoding its sequences. "We survive by understanding, not by shooting blindly." The crew moved with frantic precision. Engineers worked to reinforce damaged sections, redirecting power and sealing breaches. Tactical officers aimed weapons, poised but restrained, ready to act at the slightest threat. Scientists raced to interpret the alien signals, their fingers flying over consoles, hearts pounding with both fear and exhilaration. As the chaos unfolded, Elena realized something profound. Humans thrived in adversity. Unlike machines or predictable alien intelligence, humans adapted, improvised, and evolved in real time. Every setback became an opportunity, every attack a lesson. And the alien, she understood, learning that humans were unlike any other species it had encountered. Hours stretched into a day, sleep was impossible. Hunger was ignored. Fear was a constant companion, yet humans moved forward, fueled by determination and ingenuity. Then the alien did something unexpected. It pulsed with a frequency that resonated across the entire ship. The vibration wasn't violent. It was communicative. The crew felt it in their bones, as if the alien were speaking directly to them without words, conveying intention, curiosity, even respect. Dr. Chowdhury's eyes widened. It's inviting us to engage further. Not attack, but engage. It wants to test our understanding on a deeper level. Then we answer. Humanity has never shied from the unknown. We think, we adapt, we survive. With precise coordination, the humans modulated their systems to generate responses in energy patterns that mirrored the aliens' signals while introducing variations that reflected human ingenuity. Each pulse was deliberate, thoughtful, and distinctly human. For a moment, the void was silent except for the faint hum of the ship's systems and the heartbeat of the crew. Then the alien pulsed back, not aggressively, not violently, but in a pattern that was unmistakably acknowledgement. Elena exhaled, relief washing over her, but it was tempered by awareness. This was not victory. This was the first step in a confrontation that could last indefinitely, a trial in which humanity had been recognized, but not yet accepted. We did it, we communicated, and survived. Elena shook her head slowly. No, we've been noticed. That's all. They'll watch, test, probe again, and we will have to endure again and again. But now they know we're different. That is enough for today. The Dauntless drifted in space, hull battered, system strained, yet alive. The alien loomed nearby, vast and unknowable, observing, processing, learning. Humanity had faced the first true test, and for the first time the predator had acknowledged that its prey was clever, relentless, and unlike anything it had cataloged before. Elena gazed at the stars, feeling the weight of both responsibility and pride. The universe was vast, full of dangers that humans had only begun to comprehend. But humans endured where others might have failed. They adapted where others would have perished. They fought not just to survive, but to be recognized as equals in a cosmos that didn't care for anyone. And somewhere in the darkness, the alien observed, a silent predator becoming aware for the first time that its quarry was capable of thinking, adapting, and, perhaps in a way it couldn't yet calculate, winning. The first trial had ended, but the war for understanding, survival, and recognition had only begun. Humanity had stepped onto the stage of a story larger than itself, and it would not falter. The Dauntless floated in the void, battered but resilient, its hull scarred from the earlier encounter. The alien had withdrawn slightly, creating a strange lull that felt almost expectant. Every sensor on the ship tracked its movement, every crew member aware that this pause was not mercy but calculation. The void had no rules, and the alien had none that humans could yet comprehend. Elena stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the alien's silhouette. It's waiting. Testing patience again, perhaps expecting us to make a mistake. Amalek's voice was quiet, almost reverent. Or it's studying us. Every reaction, every hesitation, every decision, Elena nodded. Then we respond with precision. Humans aren't machines, we improvise, we adapt, and that's why we survive where others fail. The crew had learned a rhythm. Sensors detected minute shifts in the alien's energy pulses. Tactical, calculated responses that weren't aggressive but communicative. Engineers adjusted systems to send precise signals through the ship's hull, a kind of resonance that mirrored the alien's patterns. Slowly, carefully, humans were beginning to speak in a language that transcended words, a language of thought, mathematics, and pattern recognition. Dr. Chowdhury worked tirelessly in the lab, translating and decoding the alien signals. It's more than communication, she said, voice tense with awe. It's a test of cognition, of intent. It wants to know if we can reason, adapt, and innovate. And it's recognizing that we can. Helena's gaze hardened. Then we show it what humanity is capable of, not with brute force but with ingenuity. For hours, the ship and the alien engaged in a silent dialogue. Humans responded with energy sequences, subtle shifts in shield frequencies, even modulation of the ship's engines to create harmonic vibrations. Each action was deliberate, thoughtful, and uniquely human. Then came the anomaly. A surge of energy unlike anything before erupted from the alien vessel. It slammed into the Dauntless, targeting a section of the ship they had assumed was safe. The hull groaned. Sparks flying from consoles as systems overloaded. Crew members were thrown to the floor, struggling to maintain balance. Status, Elena barked, voice cutting through the chaos. Hull breach in Sector 5. Life support critical, Malik reported, struggling to stabilize the console. Shields can't hold if it hits again. Elena's mind raced. Retreat was no longer an option. They were too close. Attack was suicidal. Only one path remained. Engineering, she commanded. Divert all power to hull stabilization and shield reinforcement. Use every non-essential system to create a reactive pulse. Make it adaptive, unpredictable. Show it we're not static. We evolve. The engineers worked frantically, bending the ship's systems beyond designed limits. Energy from auxiliary reactors was funneled into shield arrays, modulated in complex sequences meant to mirror the aliens' pulses while introducing deliberate variation. The Dauntless shuddered but held. Dr. Chowdhury's eyes lit up. Captain, if we introduce these new patterns, it could recognize them as intentional reasoning rather than instinct. It could acknowledge us on a higher level. Elena's jaw set. Do it. Humanity thrives in the impossible. That's what we do. The pulse from the Dauntless resonated through the void, a complex weave of energy, frequency, and intent. The alien responded, tentacles curling in a pattern that was neither hostile nor benign, almost contemplative. For the first time, it seemed curious. Malik exhaled, relief and tension mingling. It's reacting, not attacking. Zelena nodded slowly. We've crossed the first barrier. They've noticed we're not just survivors. We're thinkers, innovators, humans. But the moment of triumph was brief. Sensors suddenly screamed a warning. Multiple energy readings converged on a single trajectory. Smaller, faster-moving objects breaking away from the alien vessel, heading directly for the Dauntless missiles. Malik asked, incredulous. Dr. Chowdhury shook her head. No, they're alive. Small, autonomous extensions of the main vessel. Adaptive, and they're fast. Elena's pulse quickened. Brace for impact. Evasive maneuvers, maximum shields. The first of the alien drones slammed into the Dauntless, piercing the outer hull. Sparks erupted, alarms blared, and the ship shuddered violently. Crew members struggled to stabilize systems as more drones struck, each impact testing their endurance, their ingenuity, and their resolve. Engineering, reroute power to shields again. Tactical. Focus on neutralizing them, non-lethally if possible. We can't destroy the main vessel, Elena commanded. The crew moved with precise coordination, a symphony of action born of desperation and training. Engineers modulated shield frequencies to create interference patterns that deflected drones. Tactical used tractor beams and energy nets to redirect them without destruction. Humans adapted faster than the drones could react, turning every assault into an opportunity to learn, respond, and evolve. Hours passed intense struggle. The Dauntless emerged battered but intact. The alien withdrew, tentacles folding, pulses slowing to a contemplative rhythm. For the first time, the humans felt something beyond fear and adrenaline. Recognition. The alien had tested them and humanity had endured. Elena leaned on the console, exhaustion heavy in her limbs. We've been acknowledged again. Not as prey, not as machines, but as equals in intellect if not in power. Malik shook his head, mingling with fatigue. I never imagined we could face something like this and survive. Elena's eyes narrowed, her mind already calculating. This is just the beginning. The alien isn't hostile in the traditional sense. It's a test. A predator that measures intelligence, adaptation, and courage. And now it knows that humans are dangerous. The Dauntless floated in the silent expanse, hull scarred, systems strained but alive. The alien remained nearby, massive and unknowable, observing, analyzing, perhaps even learning. Humans had survived the first major crisis. They had turned attack into dialogue, chaos into comprehension. They had shown the universe that humans were not to be underestimated. And in the stillness of space, amid the distant stars, the predator pulsed once more. This time it was different, slower, almost deliberate, a signal that humanity interpreted not as threat, but as acknowledgement of their will, ingenuity, and spirit. Elena exhaled, the weight of responsibility and pride heavy on her shoulders. The universe was vast, full of unknown dangers, and humans were small, but indomitable. They survived where others would have perished. They adapted where others would have failed. They fought not just to live, but to be recognized as equals in a cosmos that did not yield easily. The first major trial was over. The alien had tested them and humans had endured. Yet the bridge was filled with unspoken understanding. This was far from the end. The universe had opened its eyes to humanity, and now the real test, understanding, survival, and ultimately mastery, was just beginning. Elena's gaze lingered on the alien vessel, a vast, unknowable presence against the stars. We've survived the first storm, she murmured. But the tempest is only beginning, and we'll meet it head-on, because that's what humans do. The Dauntless floated on the edge of the unknown, battered but unbroken. Silence filled the bridge, punctuated only by the hum of strained engines and the occasional alert from damaged systems. The alien loomed nearby, vast, black, and unfathomable, yet there was a shift in its behavior. Its energy pulses were slower, more deliberate, almost contemplative, as though it were reassessing the humans who had dared to challenge its expectations. Elena's eyes scanned the readouts, every fiber of her being alert. It's waiting for us to act again. But this time it's a test of initiative, not just endurance. Malik rubbed his temples. We've survived everything it's thrown at us, but it's still massive. One mistake and it could annihilate us. Elena shook her head. It's not about brute force, it's about strategy, creativity, and courage. That's how humans win when the odds are impossible. The alien pulsed once, twice, then released a sudden burst of energy that distorted space around the Dauntless. The ship groaned, shields flaring under the strain. And then it appeared, a gap of vulnerability, subtle but undeniable. The alien was offering them a choice. Retreat, attack, or communicate on an unprecedented level. Malik, get tactical. Everyone else, prepare for the unknown. We're stepping into a new stage of this trial. The crew sprang into action. Engineers recalibrated shields, channeling energy in adaptive sequences that mirrored the aliens' patterns but introduced unpredictability. Human ingenuity encoded in light and frequency. Tactical officers prepared non-lethal countermeasures to intercept any drones or energy bursts. Dr. Chowdhury and the science team modulated signals to send subtle mathematical variations back to the alien, a language of thought rather than weapons. The alien responded immediately. Its appendages curled and extended in complex motions, forming fractal-like patterns in space that shimmered with unfamiliar colors. Energy pulses surged and receded rhythmically, a cosmic dance of intellect and will. It's responding to us, Dr. Chowdhury whispered, awe in her voice. Not just observing, it's learning. Elena nodded. Then we show it what humanity is. Not just survivors, but thinkers, innovators, problem solvers. We turn this confrontation into comprehension. The Dauntless danced a deadly ballet with the alien, dodging energy bursts, countering drones, and sending signals that reflected human creativity and adaptability. Each maneuver was calculated yet fluid, each response a blend of instinct, intellect, and courage. The aliens' responses evolved with each action, but the humans adapted faster, bending chaos into opportunity. Then came the breakthrough. Dr. Chowdhury realized that by combining the ship's energy pulses with specific harmonic modulations of the hull, they could create a signal that wasn't merely a response, it was a declaration. A pattern so complex, so uniquely human in its ingenuity that the alien could only observe and comprehend rather than act aggressively. Elena's heart raced. Do it. Send it. The ship thrummed with energy as the harmonic signal pulsed outward, a waveform of ingenuity, courage, and relentless determination. It flowed around the alien, touching every appendage, every sensor, every part of its vast presence. And for the first time, the alien recoiled not in anger but in recognition. Its appendages folded in a motion that seemed almost reverential. Malik exhaled, disbelief and exhilaration mingling. It's acknowledging us. We've Elena's eyes shone, not just respect, recognition. It knows we are different. It knows humans endure, adapt, and thrive where others fail. That is why we exist. That is why we survive. The alien pulsed once more, slower, deliberate, almost as if it were imprinting the human's essence into its memory. Then it began to withdraw, moving back into the void, not as a predator hunting prey, but as a silent witness who had learned something profound. The bridge erupted in quiet celebration. The crew had survived the impossible, turned a predator into an observer, and in doing so had demonstrated the essence of humanity. Fear had been a tool, courage a weapon, and ingenuity the shield that had kept them alive. Elena leaned back, exhaustion and pride washing over her. This isn't the end, she murmured. But we've shown the universe who humans are. We endure, we adapt, we inspire, and we never surrender. Malik nodded, a slow smile breaking across his face. We've faced the unknown, and we've thrived against the impossible. Outside, the alien continued to drift into the darkness, a presence vast and incomprehensible, yet changed forever by what it had witnessed. Humanity had stood its ground, had refused to bow, had turned fear into comprehension, chaos into dialogue. In the cold, indifferent expanse of space, humans had carved their mark, not with weapons but with the essence of who they were: brilliant, stubborn, and unyielding. The Dauntless floated silently among the stars, battered but alive, systems strained but functional, crew wary but unbroken. And somewhere in the void the alien pulsed once more, a final acknowledgement, a testament to the species that refused to kneel. Elena gazed at the stars, the weight of the universe pressing against her chest, yet her spirit unbowed. "We are humans," she said softly, "and wherever the universe tests us, we will endure. We will adapt, we will prevail." The first contact had been a trial. Humanity had passed, not because of numbers, weapons, or chance, but because they were human. Tenacious, unpredictable, intelligent, and relentless. And as the Dauntless charted a course homeward, scarred yet unbroken, one truth echoed across the infinite void: the universe had met humanity, and it would never forget. In the silence of the cosmos, where stars shimmered cold and distant, one truth remained unchallenged: humans endured, humans adapted, and humans thrived. And in that endurance, in that relentless defiance of expectation, lay the essence of a species that refused to bow. The alien had tested them, observed them, and in doing so had learned something vital. Intelligence alone did not define a species. Courage, ingenuity, and an unyielding spirit, the things that made humans human, were the greatest forces in the universe. And for the first time, an ancient predator had recognized it. Elena turned to her crew, pride and relief in her eyes. "Today we survived, tomorrow we build on it. Humanity is not just alive in the universe, it has been noticed, and we will make sure we are never underestimated again." The stars stretched endlessly before them, dark and infinite, yet full of promise. Humanity had taken its place in the cosmos, not as prey, not as experiment, but as a force to be reckoned with. And in the heartbeat of the universe, in the rhythm of stars and silence, the Dauntless carried the indomitable spirit of humans onward, into the unknown, unbowed and unbroken.